Hello! Today, we'll be showing you how to replace the motherboard in your HP 14 G4 Chromebook. First, you will need a few tools. An anti-static mat is recommended to prevent electrostatic discharge, which can damage electronic parts. A small, magnetic tip Phillips head screwdriver will be necessary for this replacement. You will need thermal paste during this replacement. A spudger will also come in handy during this replacement. You can use either plastic or metal, whichever you prefer. If you have tweezers, you might also want to have them handy, as they may be useful when dealing with small parts. The first step will be to remove the 3 rear screw covers and the 2 rear rubber feet on the bottom cover. Next, you will remove all 13 bottom cover screws. Next, you will use your spudger to go around the perimeter of the palm rest assembly and carefully pry it up. Now, you will disconnect the touchpad cable from the motherboard. Next, you will disconnect the keyboard cable from the motherboard. The palm rest assembly is now removed. Now, you will disconnect and completely remove the motherboard to USB board cable. Next, you will remove the 8 battery screws. Now, you will disconnect the battery cable from the motherboard. You can now remove the battery. Next, you will disconnect the LCD cable from the motherboard. Now you will disconnect the speaker cable from the motherboard. Now you will disconnect the DC jack cable from the motherboard. Now you will remove the Wi-Fi card screw and then disconnect the Wi-Fi card from the motherboard. Next, you will remove the 4 motherboard screws. Now, you will remove the 2 heatsink screws and then remove the heatsink from the motherboard. You can now remove the motherboard. The first step in the installation of your replacement motherboard will be to set it into place and replace the 4 motherboard screws. Next, you will apply thermal paste to the CPU on the motherboard. Now, you will set the heatsink into place on the motherboard and replace the 2 heatsink screws. Now, you will reconnect the Wi-Fi card to the motherboard and then replace the Wi-Fi card screw. Now, you will reconnect the DC jack cable to the motherboard. Now, you will reconnect the speaker cable to the motherboard. Next, you will reconnect the LCD cable to the motherboard. Now, you will set the battery into place and replace the 8 battery screws. Now, you will reconnect the battery cable to the motherboard. Next, you will reconnect the motherboard to USB board cable. Next, you will reconnect the keyboard cable and the touchpad cable on the palm rest assembly to the motherboard. Now, you will snap the palm rest assembly into place on the bottom cover. Next, you will replace the 13 bottom cover screws. The final step will be to replace the 3 rear screw covers and the 2 rear rubber feet on the bottom cover. You have now successfully replaced the motherboard in your HP Chromebook. Good job!